All right, I guess I'm rolling again. I'm going to go ahead and change my video here to the other camera, but I'm also going to set up a blur effect, make sure I can even do this. The source camera is busy. Let's change our capture device for video real quick. I'm going to use the NVIDIA broadcast camera. We're going to say OK. I'm going to go to that, and I'm going to add in a blur, sort of a depth camera. We will leave this like so. Hopefully that has taken effect, which I think it has. And we're going to restart. Sorry. Okay, so the thing is, I had started this broadcast or this stream twice and had to restart it because my stylus was missing. All right, so I also swapped out my screens. I apologize for the ridiculous delay there. Okay, so I've gotten this little shape drawn over my bird, which is on a layer here, just an image layer that I downloaded from the internet. So with the body shape, I'm going to go back and redo that because this was the whole problem to begin with. And let's just delete that shape altogether. Delete, come on, let's get the points here. Delete. And now I'm going to draw this with my pen, and we're going to be here in the wet ink style over on the style panel. So I'm going to just close that up to make things a little more streamlined, and then I'm just going to draw out the basic sketch of the bird here. Then I'm going to go back in and edit my points a bit. For one, this one needs to be not peaked, I think. I'm just going to move some stuff around where it feels a little better. I want it to have a sketchy feel, so I'm not going to edit it very much. But that is basically our shape. And then I'm going to add now another layer behind that one. We're going to call this body color. Because this is what you have to do when you have a separate outline and color, and you don't want to, you don't have any way to close the gap, if that makes any sense, on your color shape, because you don't have a solid outline. You just make a new layer, and you drag that color behind the body layer, and we'll use the blob brush for this with the color that we want this to be. And you don't even have to color it all in. In fact, if you just make an outline that is what you want it to be, I'll go back and edit this a bit, and just not lift my pen. When this pops up, you can come back over here to your point selection here and just select the inner shape here, just on the line, and hit delete, and now you have a solid object. Pretty crazy. When I learned that, I was like, all right. Totally dumbfounded. All right, so I'm just going to move these points a bit better. I'm going to have to add and take away a few. I think that is pretty obvious. Just going to drag a few around to get them in a better place where we would all like to be. I think that's okay. Let's just grab this guy and kind of get it better like so. I'm going to change the curvature on this one slightly, and then just kind of drag with an actual move tool. I think that's more than enough right there. So basically that is just the body. I'm going to do some sketching on it, but I just want to get the base pieces first, and then I will go back and do more, what you call it, more detailed or better, work on outlining this and so on. All right, so that's essentially the body. I'm going to go ahead and I might group those for now just to clean stuff up. I might ungroup them later. So we'll just group a selection and call this body. If I can type. And we'll close that up to save some space there. We're going to go ahead and create another layer. This is going to be for the head. This is just the head outline, but you get the idea. We're going to go back to our freehand tool, which is going to give you the most sketchy, look. And that is not sketchy in the bad way. But you don't have to make this all one outline. You can actually come in here and, different strokes for different folks, different parts of the bird, obviously. This is just your outline, so it's totally fine. Don't know where my eye is going to go or blah, blah, blah yet, but I'll sort that out. But that's just kind of like the getting the head mainly, the way you want it to, so you can kind of throw in a couple lines or whatever, just to make it look more sketchy. Then we can come in here, like with our magnet tool, maybe push some of these around and get them a little less, wobbly or whatever. I think that's fine for now, but you get the idea. All that will be sorted out. And then we're going to make a color layer for that. So I'm just going to go and add another vector layer. We're going to call this head color. I'm going to pull that one down below the head, and then we're going to paint on that one with our blob brush, just like I did before. So this will just pretty much try to be, in my outlines as much as possible. And then make an edge that goes all the way around. And now we can come in here and just tap that inner line, that one there, and hit delete, and it fills it in. Real simple. I've shown that to a few people, and they've all gone, wow, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. So if that is the greatest thing you've ever seen, make a comment about it, and then like and subscribe while you're at it. Why not? I'm going to add just a couple of points right here just to make sure I have control of this shape when we do animate it. You can also come through with this tool here, which gets rid of your simplify some of your points. It doesn't always work that well though, because I can go hardcore and it doesn't delete even a single one. It just thinks it needs all of those points to complete that shape. Sometimes it's wrong. Oftentimes it's wrong, actually. And I'm just going to push these around, adjust our curvature a little to make this better. You can turn off and on your handles right here in case you don't know how to do what I just did. And I need to be using my shortcuts here, but I'm trying to make sure I don't go so fast that you guys don't know what the heck I'm doing, even though you probably still don't to some degree, because it's kind of fast. But I'm just trying to get this done. I have to have this whole animation done by the end of the month, and yeah, there's way too much work left to do. So that's our head and head color. We're going to go ahead and shift select them and right click and group those with selection. Call this head. Okay, so now we have the two groups, the head and the body. I'm going to worry about the beak and stuff in a bit, and then I'm going to let's do the tail. It's probably the most simple. I don't know if I'm going to do a whole bunch of different layers for the feathers. I think I'm going to do them all in separate, just keep it on one layer and make them separate pieces. Then I'll go adjust those for like a tail spread and stuff like that. But real simple. We're just going to go ahead and throw on another vector layer. I'm going to put this one, we're going to call this tail. I'm going to put it, whoops, I'm going to put it below the body so it's kind of behind everything. And just kind of sketch this out based on that image back there, one little feather at a time. I think it'll be totally fine. Making sure I don't cross my lines over and join them with any other lines. I have auto weld turned off. In fact, I'm going to put that tail on the top now that I look at this so I can see my lines as I go, because it's going to get a little messy if I don't. And we're just going to come down here and do the next one like so. You can be more neat about this kind of stuff if you want than I am being. I'm sure you will, because you should be. Right. Okay, good enough. All right, let's just clean up that end right there. I'm just going to deselect everything and move that point kind of back there and let that one click. Not a big deal. If it clicks, fine. If it doesn't, fine, because we're doing color layers mostly on this stuff. So I'm just going to go and say vector. I'm going to say, yeah, I might as well do tail color. I'm going to see if I can do this in one. If not, because when the spread, this is going to get very, very cumbersome. I'm probably hanging myself here. So I'm going to say tail color 1. I'm just kind of do this feather by feather. The first one I'm going to leave, I think. Let me go back. Trying not to confuse myself. So I'm going to move this point, but I'm not going to link it. And you'll see why. If I turn off my auto weld here and pull this here, it won't link up, but it'll go to the place I want. Now I can do a separate color for each feather here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do vector. I'm going to put color 1. This will be for just one tail feather. Using the blob brush, I'm going to come through and make sure this is filled enough. Now as long as you don't lift your pin up, this will actually continue with the stroke you're using. But if you left it up and you click on, say, the select or the move, you're going to get those holes. You just click on that particular line, delete it, it goes away. Click on that one now, delete it, it goes away. So if you happen to lift your brush up, while you're drawing in that stuff, but that's only if you do that. Okay, so get this back to a better position here, just tweaking a couple of these curves. I probably could be using sharper points and stuff, but it's all good. Just making sure they're inside the lines, you know what I mean? And they're going to be underneath the lines anyway, but I just want to make sure they were definitely going to be hidden either way I do this. I'm just going to sharpen that one up a bit more too and move it around just to be a little better looking. All right, cool. So with that one, I'm going to copy and paste this one now over to the next one and so on. I think I'm also going to kind of grab these and sharpen those just so it's not a big hassle to move stuff around and they're not going to be all roundy in the wrong place. These are going to all be hidden. All these connection points, I think, because they should be on the top of the body, so they should be all hidden. All right, so with that, I'm just going to take color 1, that particular shape. Yeah, and I'll probably just reproduce the shape on its same layer. I'm going to move that below the tail, though, so that we get that outline on top, and then I'm just going to copy and paste. So edit, copy, and this is just the manual way, edit, paste. You can go Control C, Control V. Then I'm going to move that over, reposition it, and reposition all of its points. Just make sure you don't move the points of the other feathers color, and get those. I'm using the magnet tool here, but I don't recommend it when you have multiple things like this, because you're going to wind up moving more points than the one you're selecting if you're not careful. It's better just to be quick than careful sometimes if you can be. So basically that. And we'll go ahead and connect or click that shape and copy and paste it. Control C, Control V. And then I'll move it to the next destination and then reposition those. I'm going to just use my regular move tool for this, though, to make sure I'm not overdoing, or over selecting the amount of points that I need to. Pushing these back where I know they're supposed to pretty much go. It's kind of hard to see because there's so many things, but those tail lines, we might have to decide to do those, break those up in separate shapes as well, which I'm thinking we're going to have to do. So why don't we do that now? It's going to take a minute to do, but I think that's going to make more sense. So on tail, I drew them all together. They need to be put on separate layers given the nature of what they are, because they're going to have to move separately and spread out. So we're going to go Control X, which will cut that one. I'm going to go and create a new vector layer. We'll call this tail. We're going to call feather 1 or tail feather 1. That's good. Feather 1. I know I misspelled it probably. And then we're going to select the screen, Control V to paste that back on. The color, we're going to have to do the same thing because these are going to have to be separately colored pieces. And I think, let's just go ahead and delete the color layer altogether. I know this is a little bit confusing, but trust me. On this tail feather one, I'm going to go ahead with that selected, and I'm going to color in with the blob brush on that same layer, I think. See if it'll just let me do it, which it will. No problem. And I'm just going to color that feather on the same layer as its outline, but as separate shapes so that you can affect them differently. You don't have to have a closed shape. We're not doing an autofill, if that makes sense. So tail feather 1, and then if you select this and the color is not in the background, you can always go to draw and say lower to back, and it will push the color behind the shape that is the outline. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now tail again, we're going to select the next shape. We're going to cut it and paste it to its own layer. So we're just going to edit, cut, and then we're going to go to a new vector layer here. Call this tail feather 2. I'm sure that one may be misspelled as well. Control V. It's on its own separate layer. Now we can draw its color. This is just going to be a lot more controllable later. It's a little more confusing right now for you guys, but just trust me, this is the better way I should have done it, honestly. I'm going to hide the first one just so I can see this one and see where I didn't fill it in. And I'm just going to come back here and say, you know, need some of this too. And if this makes two shapes, which it very well may, we're going to select like so. No, it does auto blend them together, so that's good. We're all good there. If you need to move anything around, obviously because it's on a separate layer now, you can easily come in here and adjust it. You may adjust the outline because it is on the same layer as the background color, but that's the only problem you may or may not have. But I think overall that's pretty good. We'll turn on the other feather, and that one, yeah, should be on top of that one, so that's good. I'm going to go back to the tail and cut more of these away and paste them back in. So edit, cut. I'm just doing that manually to show you. We create a new layer here, vector layer. It can be on the top, on the bottom. We're going to say tail feather 3. And then we'll come over here, tap the screen, and paste. It helps if you're on frame 0. And paste that in where it goes. And then we can color it in the same. I'm going to turn off the other two so I can see what I'm doing. And just get that outline. Remember, you only need to do the outline of this. Just be careful, you know, try to do that precise, like so. So precise. And then when you select, you can delete that inner outline of that, and it will fill it in. So and then we can come back with our curves, whatever else you have, and adjust all that. Just make sure you're selecting the color and not the outline of the feather outline. So that can be confusing too. Set your curve up to where it's going to be going the right way. Just going to make this one a little smaller. You saw that I grabbed those separately, one end and the other. So I'm right now trying to find the color. There we go. You can put that all back together now. There. So now we're going to do the next line. So I'm going to turn that one off and select the tail and copy and paste this guy, or cut and paste I should say. So Control X, and we're going to make a new layer. This will be tail feather 4. And I did it this way also so I can naturally draw what it would look like if I was doing it in a natural way. Had I just drawn them separately, they would look more like really separately placed things, which is fine, but this just will look more organic in the end. So untap the screen once, and I'm going to go Control V and paste that one in. And now I can come in with my blob brush and color it in. If I'm more careful than I have been being, there'll be less fixing of that shape when I get that drawn. I'm just gonna, yeah, there's gonna be a little bit, but like I said, select the inside line, delete it, fills it in. And I can come through and adjust a point here and there. All right, cool. These ends really aren't going to matter, but just for the heck of it, turn that off. Go back to the tail layer. Select that. Control X. Make a new layer. Call this tail feather 5. And tap the screen, Control V to paste it back in, and then draw in the color. Now I have like 5 or 6 birds that are going to be in this shot, but I only have to draw the one. And the animation for all of them is only going to need to be the animation of this one bird cycled and then pasted onto, well, it'll paste when I paste the other birds in. And then I just have to adjust their timing to where they look like they're not all flapping at the exact same second. So, okay, turn that one off, and then we're left with our last one, which we'll just change, rename tail feather 6. Okay, and not a lot of people, I guess, understand what this kind of animation is. In Moho, you can do pretty much any kind, but I'm doing a kind of combination, mostly pose to pose, and not just that, but pose to pose rigged, which gives you a little bit of this sort of cutout style. But you can, of course, adjust. You can do, you know, head turns, you can do body turns, all that kind of stuff. But in keeping with a simpler style, you know, that's mostly what's going to happen with it. And I'm trying to make sure that I continue with that style. It looks a little puppety. Some people don't like it. I personally do. I'm a fan of the old like He-Man shows, things like that, those pose-to-pose animation shows, to where you don't have a lot of dynamic, you know, spinning around, like Disney Smooth, you know, this kind of stuff, which is fine. It's great stuff. But what I seemingly have kind of settled on a lot and what I've been doing is been a little bit more of that pose to pose. I constantly try to cheat that to look more flowy and better, but I like the pose to pose for one because I'm used to it. Also, it saves a lot of time in animating as well, but not that that should be your reason or goal, but it does, because when it comes to people spending money for your time, they appreciate that too eventually, that, oh, okay, so this is going to be a lot more if I have you do this because it takes so much more time. Yes, that's why. Okay, so we'll turn these feathers back on, and that tail now is drawn. I'm going to put the head and body layers above that tail, like so. I'm going to take all the tail feathers for now also and right-click them and group them together to where we have just a tail group. And I can close that up and save our space over here. And that's the way that's going to look. Then we need to do some wings. The wings I'm not going to do in a whole bunch of feathers like this, probably. More than likely, I'm going to think about this. It's quite possible that these will be swapped out arms, if I can remember how to do Vitruvian bones. Or I'm just going to use switch layers on it. Either way, they're very similar things. So to get the wing kind of in an upright position here, then in a middle position, and then in a down position, and sort of cycle switching those out as opposed to moving. It'll move a little, and then it'll switch to the next layer, move a little, switch to the next layer, that kind of thing. Then we'll cycle everything. I hope that's the plan. What I could do also is copy and paste one of these tail feathers and adjust its, for like these open ones, like for the first top 5, and then the rest make this, you know, one section and one section. It's probably the best way to do it. So in the tail, I'll open that up. We'll get tail feather 6, I think is the most generic looking shape. I'm going to grab, we could just duplicate the layer. So I'm going to duplicate its layer. We're going to call this wing feather 1. We're going to move that out of that group to probably behind the body, I think. Not in the head layer, but yeah, I think that's outside. And then now I'm going to move its layer and change its size and shape and everything. Another thing I want to do is change its origin point, so somewhere here. That way when we move the layer, obviously we can rotate from that point, etc. And then I'll change its size and shape here, or by moving its points around. I might want to also increase the opacity of this background layer because it seems to be just a little too faded. I'm going to go about maybe 30 or something like that for now. That way I can see where these points are supposed to be at. Let's go back to our wing feather 1. And I'm just going to pull these around with our magnet, make sure I don't have anything else selected, and make this a little bigger. Something like that. If you guys are watching, say hello, like and subscribe and all that junk. And I'm going to be having hopefully more videos. I've taken a bit of a break. I don't know if anyone noticed. Just getting, stuff together, life and all that. I've been working on this animation pretty much nonstop, among a couple of other things that I have to do. So things happen, as they say. All right, so that's, I think, okay. I'm going to probably adjust some more of these points, though, because I don't think that is... It's sketchy, which is cool, but I think it's a little too sketchy, if you get my meaning. Not exactly what I would want or what it should be like. So we're just going to adjust a few more things here. And maybe like that. Oops. Let's move instead of the curvature, the move tool. Okay, I think that's okay for the first one here. I'm going to copy and paste this one to get the second one. So I'm going to duplicate that layer. And then I'm going to grab the layer, move it to the relatively right spot. It's totally wrong. Love that. All right, something here. And start adjusting points again. This is how it goes. Now, because I have these all in the same layer and the points aren't 100% equal in their spacing and position, it makes it a little bit difficult to kind of get these lined up and spaced out correctly. But I can always go through and compare these with the original and stuff, so get a better idea of what I'm doing. And also I'm going to add in a couple of points, one here and here on each one of those separate parts, so I can come in here and adjust this together. I should probably do the same on the other, but for now that works. You can see this is kind of missing some stuff here and there, but that works like that. These won't be adjusted during animation. I mean, as far as like individual points, these are going to be just kind of swapping frames mostly. All right, so I'll take wing feather 2, duplicate that one as well now to wing feather 3, and we'll start tweaking its positions around. The good old magnet tool. Try to grab this from like the center, because I'm totally tweaking that one not so great out of its positioning. It happens. Put that one back, and so on and so on. So I got to mess around with these sometimes if I'm using this magnet tool. It's kind of bugging right now, but I just want to make sure I moved most of the points over all together. And trying to see those, my eyes are bugging out from the overlay, but something like that, and then I can move the individual points a bit better. I like to move the points in sort of their bulk form, and then sort of get them more in a more detailed way after. Let's see, where are you? Somewhere in there. Something kind of like that. I will straighten that one's curve a little bit and find the edges. My cat is being vocal. And just kind of something like this. I'll figure these exact positions out here as I go. So something kind of like that's fine, probably. It's the most tedious part though. We're going to duplicate that layer now, move it over the same way. Don't you dare. My cat likes to jump up on my desk when I'm doing stuff like a live stream and try to play with things that she knows I don't want her to play with and do things I don't want her to do to get my attention. No thank you, not right now. Do not scratch my books, do not scratch my things, do not get on my mixer and my desk. I will never buy you catnip again. Okay, deal. Alright, so these all go up here. And we make at least one more of these now. So duplicate this guy again. Wing feather 5, nicely renamed it for us. And I'm going to now move our point one more time. And make kind of like a final separate one here. Yeah, birds suck as far as animation goes. Drawing all of it and rigging all of it and everything else. But this one's going to be a pretty easy scenario, in my opinion. Because it's mostly going to be grouped, a lot of kind of large groupings of the chunks of feathers and stuff. So it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, my cat is sounding really pathetic because she knows you guys can hear. She's like, I have not eaten in a month. Yes, you have. She hears me talking and can't understand who I'm talking to, probably. Because I don't get it. How does that work? Well, very well when you're not in the house. I'll be honest. Okay, so that's probably okay. I'm going to take that feather 1 and sort of widen it out. I think it's obviously looking skimpy. Just grab these parts from them their parts. Sort of just fatten that one a little bit to kind of fill in. Overall, I think that's fine. This doesn't have to be the perfect bird wing. It's going to be moving fast. It's far away. It's a kind of a smaller featured thing. You know, it's not really featured. It's not in the background. You know, it is in a shot featured, but it's not like the most important thing. What's your problem, cat? What? What do you want? She's like, meh. I don't know. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and hello, Dreams Animation Studio. Nice to see you. I am just going through here making a kind of a generic bird. I say generic bird, but it's kind of a simpler bird that's going to be flying sort of overhead-ish in the air, but a little bit to the side. From left to right. You're going to get down from my books, please. Hey. Get down. Get down. Get down. Get the laser, please. All right, so now I'm going to make some separate sections. These tails are all, these feathers are all going to be in one grouping, I think. I'm just going to say group those. This is going to be wing, and it's going to be his right, wing right, and this is going to be wing right end, I guess, or tip, if I can write. Cool. Dreams Animation Studio, where are you located and what do you do? All right, so there's that. And then now I'm going to make another section of wing, probably this chunk here. It's just going to be kind of sketched out, I believe. So I'm going to make another layer. We're going to call this wing section 2 right. And I'm going to draw that in. This probably can get away with being just one section, but more than likely. Maybe I'll just do it one section and see what happens. So I'm just going to sort of sketch this sort of in here. All of this is going to be on separate layers from color. So, you know, none of this has to be super precise or like outlining with closed outlines, I guess is really what I'm trying to say. That was pretty horrible. Talking and doing this at the same time is not the easiest thing in the world. Most of the time I care about these lines going down right a lot more than I am right now. But, yeah. I did accidentally inhale super glue dust while sanding yesterday. And that will make you cough. It makes everything burn. I don't recommend that, and I hope I'm okay. It was actually dry super glue, but it had some of the activator spray still wet on the wood, because I use it for tacking stuff down until I screw and glue it to get together. And yeah, I inhaled some of that dust from there, and then I'll tell you what, it burned and took my breath away. So I was a little, like, really kind of worried for a second, like, did I just do something really bad? We'll find out, I guess. Okay, so let's just go ahead and move a couple of points. This one for sure. Realign a couple of things real quick before I get too far. Straighten out a couple of these end curves that I'm starting to not like so much. I'm just doing Control M, which is going to reset the point, which is really, really handy if you have stuff like that happening. It also reset your points, like the Control P will peak it. This will remountain it, I call, because it's an M. Let me get rid of that one, even though I know it's supposed to have a sketchy look. There's some of these just a little too busy, in my opinion. Going to reset that one and this one. Any of those with the sort of curly Q end, I just don't want those to be doing that. And there we go. And there we go. And there we go. And I don't think I should have done. That's probably fine, like so. Okay, so anyway, there's our section. Can adjust this even more if we wanted to. Trying to be not so over the top and fixing everything a lot more. It's hard for me to do sometimes. And then we're going to take that section, we're going to create a new layer, and behind it I'm going to rename this one to Wing Section 2 Right Color. There we go. And then we're going to draw in with the blob brush. Blah, blah, blah brush. And I'm just going to do so. You don't have to be super precise. Don't worry about the internals. We're not going to be coloring this in. Like I say, when you delete that inner line, it colors it in for you. I was really worried about that for a long time until I saw that and was like, wow, I'm an idiot. That really takes care of all the problems. You don't have to sit here and color in the entire object, which is nice. So I'm just going to kind of complete this like so. Continue on around. I'm going to leave that out for the moment, because you can also add in more to this, and it will accept it if you have it set the way I do. Merge strokes is what you want. So now I'm going to select this, and you see that inner line? We have an inner and outer line. Just select the inner line and delete it, and it will fill in the rest magically. If you didn't know that, you're welcome. Like and subscribe, because now you owe me. Okay, so that wing section we have on top of the body, maybe. We'll see. I don't know which one really needs to go. It's going to be a lot of almost silhouette, because they're going to be backlit by the sky. And these will have color, but I'm just not sure if it's going to matter if we show one thing in front of the other or not. The wing should be in front of the body because it will fold in front. So yeah, we'll do it that way. We got one more wing to do. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feathers again, but these are going to be simpler than the others. These had a little more structure to them. But I can only probably make... I'm going to start with the biggest one here, and then we're going to have this other section just the same as before. So let's go ahead and make another And you know what? Let's take this wing section 2 and group that with itself. Wing section 2, right? Close that up, saving some space again. Tail closing up, and then we'll just draw on a new layer. Wing section 2, wing section 2 left. And I'm going to go back with my freehand tool. Like I said, if you guys have comments, suggestions, want to just say hi, cool, do it all. I'm open to many things. So this will be pretty much here. You can see I'm handling this like, you know, in a very kind of like whatever fashion, because it all looks good. And the nice thing is you can do some sketchy work here, and it's not going to make it look bad. That's what I like about using this sort of sketchy kind of outline look, is that you don't have to do like a Cartoon Network style perfectly drawn, smooth, closed shapes. None of that. You can do this you know, as you want. So with that one, we can come back in yet again and, you know, move stuff around, adjust, blah blah blah. I'm going to make this a little smaller, maybe a 2 or 1, just in case I get more than one here. And then obviously we need to go back through here and reset some of these ends to be more straightened out. Like I think that one needs to be, both these reset with a Control M. Oops. Control M. And I have more than one selected, so that's probably why that's doing that. Right here. Control. We'll just go into the curvature, find the handles, or move the point over like we probably should have done to start with. This one can be peaked. You get the idea. Lots of tweaking. That one. Reset it straighter. Yeah, so you just go in and tweak a lot. I'm going to get rid of a couple of these that are just like single weird floaty points. Something if it's just too many. That one could be reset because it's got a little twist at the end. You get the idea. Any of these at the end. They tend to do that at the ends a lot because of the way you lift your pencil, or the, you know, where you're, the direction you're going in the last part of your stroke, stuff like that. All right, so that looks okay. I can live with it. I can dig it. Something like that. All right, and then we're going to do a color for that. So I'm just going to go to here, create another layer, call this wing section 2L color. Or true color L. Because I always put the direction left or right at the end. Yeah, if you guys are watching, say hello. My name is Sean Darling. My channel is Fable Forge. And it's a new kind of brand of the company for everything I create, animate, build, etc. And it's for a little bit of everything. But today we're animating a flying bird here in Moho 14.4. All right, so with that, I need to make a, with the blob brush, a color here on this new layer. This one is going to wind up, though, behind everything else. I'm just going to do it in front for the moment. So I'm just going to color this. Only have to worry about the outline. So once again, we will delete the inner part of this. Just worry about the outline. If you're just tuning in, you don't know what I mean, just wait. You'll see it's a magical thing. So as soon as I get that in there. Okay, once that's done, we select of the two outlines the inner one, by selecting the line, not the points, and delete. And there you go. All right, so I'm going to take both of those pieces of that section. I'm going to group them. And we're going to call this wing section 2L. And we're going to put the color behind the outline to start with. And then we're going to take that whole thing, close it up, and move it below the body now. And probably behind the tail. Yeah, so not in either one of those, but between. All right, cool. And then we have this end piece left to do, and then we'll do the face, the beak, blah, blah, blah. All right, so above, I guess, or behind that wing section, we're going to create another layer. And probably should be behind it, or yeah, below it. So we're going to say wing L, wing tip. Wing tip L. Sounds good. I'm trying to decide if I want to do separate feathers like we did before. Maybe. So let's go ahead. Wingtip L. Wingtip feather 1 L. That's what we're doing. Okay. And then we're going to draw this biggest feather, because this is the one we're going to copy and paste and change the size of all the rest. So something like that. And I'm going to do the color on the same layer like we did for the other feathers. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Let me know what's up. Tell me what you think of my video. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, criticisms, you can keep those to yourself. I'm kidding. But say hello. And I'm going to take that little bit there. I'm going to make sure it is to the back. So to where the outlines are in front, I'm going to make sure I click away and have a look at it. This one's going to go below that wing section, but not inside, you know, any of the other things. So it's behind that section there. I'm going to take that wingtip feather and duplicate it to make a new one. And we're going to make sure our pivot point is right there. We're going to sling that around essentially, and I'm going to lengthen, well, I can't say it, but you know what I mean, that out, maybe skinny it up maybe skinny it up a little bit this way. Woo, maybe not that way. Something like that, and then I'll come back in with my magnet tool and skinny it up a little more controlled. Kind of like that, maybe. You get the idea. So the color is separate from the outline, so it can slip around. That's when you come in with your move tool and just adjust everything a lot more manually and a lot more carefully. I'm just going to go to the end there and peek that, and then cool. You know, I once had a friend that told me they didn't want to talk to me anymore because they said I was too famous and had no time for them. I was like, famous? Okay, first of all, I don't consider myself that. Kind of funny though, huh? We get weirdly jealous of the weirdest things. Alright, there we go. Then you have other people talking about how they wish they knew someone quote-unquote famous, which I didn't say about myself, but that person did. I just find that weird. I'm too famous for you. Okay, I'll take that. Alright, so anyway, duplicate that layer. This one's going to be a lot skinnier. We're going to take it, make sure it's rotating at the right spot as well. Pull it this way. I'm going to move a lot of the points around here now. Pull this one to the end. Pull these more to the side. These will all be junky until they're not. Something closer to this. Closer to this. I have to put another point in there somewhere. And then I can come back in here and tweak these around a lot more. I have to find the edge though. This is the hardest part for me. It's like, where actually is that edge? And see, I don't have enough points on my outline to really find where my outline is. So I'm going to just move it out of the way. Find the edge somewhere like that, I think. And then readjust everything accordingly. If I could find these points. If I could turn back time. All right, let me see. That is needing a couple of points there probably to make it make any sense whatsoever. But I'll just get the color dropped in there first in the right place and then worry about that if it comes up. A lot of times it won't. So, if you can't hear me very well, I apologize. Realize that wasn't the closest it could have been to me. But I think overall it's looking okay. Guys, like I said, have comments, complaints, questions, all the cuh words. Let me know. Just going to tweak those just a little bit. I think that's okay. Then we're going to make two much smaller ones, so I'm just going to duplicate that again and rotate that around and really squish it like this. Smaller and shorter. And these don't have to be exacting of the other. I think that's pretty good right there. Duplicate layer. It's my bird now. Taking this from a real photo, I think it is, of an actual bird. And, you know, making the animated version of a bird, I guess. See how that color just perfectly moves and blends there. Yeah, not as much as I'd like. So I'm just going to push these around until I get sick of messing with it. Get those into a acceptable nasty form of some kind. When I say good enough, which I don't normally use that phrase. Nothing should just be good enough, especially when it comes to something creative, in my opinion, but you know, it still happens. I'm going to add a couple of more points here to sort of tame this edge. And then, of course, the old curvature. Get these guys nice and back in line. I got to figure out which one is which. There we go. We'll pull that one down slightly. Try to get these more correct. I mean, I can leave this in so many ways and it would be okay. I just would feel, you know, like I wasn't doing a good enough job. I'm really am in a hurry, but I'm still trying to do a good job with it. So you got to balance that. Is speed more important? Is quality more important? And the answer is always yes. It's true. All right, good enough for those. And so now I'm going to do a beak and an eye. I'm going to move, though. That's why I changed the opacity of this up a little bit. So I'm going to move the image to the top. And I'm going to see there's an eye right there. And that's the whole reason for doing that the way I did. I'm going to actually bring the image up a little bit so I can kind of see that a little bit better. I think, yeah, that's correct. So now I will come back up to the top here, just below the image on the head layer. And we're going to put I and, or E. Yeah. So we'll do I. My voice is ragged from talking too much. And I'm going to go ahead on that layer and sort of draw an approximation of this eye. Something like this. Something like that. adjust it around until it looks a lot more the way I would like it to look, which is better than this for sure. Like I said, if you don't have enough points, add points, you know, move stuff around the way you're telling it to move, not the way it wants to move. You're in charge of this world, yo. And go to, let's go 0.02 maybe on that. Maybe a 0.01. I should just get my move tool. It doesn't matter at this point. It's so small. And you can see that this is way not simple enough. I don't know if this is going to work, but simplify. Not that line, but this line. And it's just not doing it, so I'll have to come in here manually and just start deleting some of these points away that just aren't necessary. The double points. Started watching a new show, The Nightmare Club. Pretty cool show. My son had seen it. I had not seen it. My son's grown, does not live at home. So, but he told me, well, he told me he liked it. He didn't tell me about it. I saw it, told him I saw it, and he said that's a great show. So I trusted it. It seems to be pretty darn good. All right, so with that, we're going to add an eyeball just to have a proper setup here. I'm going to go and drag that behind that eye layer now. You can see this gets blurry and pixelated. All you have to do is come down here to display and just turn off GPU caching. You can see everything clearly. It just helps you kind of absorb some of the impact of having a lot of layers and stuff. So I'm going to call this eyeball. Oops, helps if you actually type into it. And we're going to put a little black shape here. I'm just going to make a round shape to start with. And go back to the create here. We have to create, so I'm going to do both. I don't really need a stroke though, now that I think about it. So just fill. We're going to say create, and then on that shape, we're going to click on it and change its color to a black or something closer to a black, like that. And then I'm going to grab the edges, and I'm going to add in some more points in here too, probably. Just grab a couple of points here. Make sure also this is 100%. Okay, it is. It's because that image is behind it. It looks transparent. It's not. But it will fool you that way. Trust me. And then you will be a fool. All right, so I'm going to peek that down some, and this as well. And then adjust this around a little bit. Could have used the other tool. I don't know why I've been defaulting to this magnet tool, even though there's a move tool right here that's perfectly usable. All right, so there's that. Don't know if that's exactly what I want, but I think from that angle it is. I might add a little stripe across the face. I don't know. We need to make a beak though, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And I'm not going to have these open, I don't think. These are just flying over. And we'll just sketch this beak out like this, maybe like that. That's fine. And then we'll make a beak color layer below it. So beak layer, or color, I mean. I'm gonna grow. That helps. Beak color. I think I tapped the screen with my pen. It was too close. Like so. Beak color is going to be on frame 0 again. Make sure you're always doing that. And I'm just going to create a shape. Or you can use the blob brush, which I guess is probably the more traditional thing to do here. We've been doing that. So 0.005 to get even smaller. And just kind of come in here and make a beak color. And we can always sharpen that up. We just delete that inner line. We can start adjusting our curvature a little more. Then, of course, dragging stuff around to make it more appropriately placed. We can reset points. Reset points. I think that looks pretty good. We can delete extra points as well. Add them. Take them away. You know how it is. So we're going to go ahead and peek that one. All right, I think that's working okay. I don't want to get so many that it's hard to animate. That's the biggest problem a lot of people make for themselves. I probably want to peek that one. Maybe. It's either that or add one more in here somewhere to kind of control that a bit. I think that's fine though. This is really just a silhouette shape. It's not going to be doing anything. All right, if we turn this off, this is what we're left with, which I think looks pretty good for our bird. I'm probably going to darken the edges of these wings where like the feathers are mostly darker than the fronts of the arms. Or I'm going to darken the back wing and then part of the front wing and then the tail and just a shade on the body, I think. I think that's the best way to go. Let me know what you think. Okay, so the back wing, we're going to go with section 2L, which is going to consist of this, and this is the color. We're going to take that down by selecting the color. And we're just going to drop this down by a little bit of a shade like so. Something maybe like that. It acts like this whole wing is more in shadow. I think that's fine. In fact, we can do that with these feathers if we want to, but I think I'm going to start at least with this feather. I might not use all the feathers. We'll see. We just sample the color from here, which we can't do because I'm on a weird monitor. So the color, I'm going to go back in here and sample this color by selecting and copying its color code here. So we just copy that. We'll go back to this feather and paste it back in. So this is the long version, the long way of having to do that given the setup of my monitors. But normally you just sample it like a regular thing. So paste that one in there to that one. We'll do the same thing at least to this one, maybe the next one. Let's see what it looks like here. Yeah, probably all of them. I don't want to make it too weird. Like, why is that one just out there by itself? Well, because he thought it looked good and he was wrong. A little bit there, that's fine. And then the wing, the other wing, we'll go with wing, and these probably should also be grouped as the wing tip L. And then we can close that up. The other section is the R. We don't want the R tip, we want the wing section R color. And we might not get away with it the same way. So what I'm going to do is just make a section of color here and then mask it. You'll see. So we're going to add a vector. I'm going to call this shadow. In fact, let's pull this up above everything. On the shadow, this will get drawn, you know, what it is. So something kind of like this, and it can vary a little if you want, and whatever. This is going to encompass all that part of the wing. We're going to select it, turn off the stroke. Don't worry about the fill because this is going to get masked. And in fact, for this shadow, now that I think about it, we didn't have to use a separate color, but we are. It's fine. We could have just changed the blending mode or whatever, but no, we're going to leave it here. And now on this wing section, I'm going to make sure that here on the group, I click on masking, hide all. Okay. Cuts that down to the size of the wing. And then on the wing section R2 color, that should work for that section. So we're just going to go to masking, make sure we exclude the strokes so they come back. And then boom. That should be correct, but I'm not seeing my strokes. This is where I was saying that this probably should be done as the same color and as an overlay, basically. So what I'm going to do is select that color or that section of the wing. Before I do it, I need to make sure I select the regular color of that wing, like so, and copy it. So copy that. We're going to copy our shadow, or paste that onto our shadow's color here, towards the same color, which seems confusing at first. But then we're going to go and change the shadow to a different blending mode. So we'll just put multiply. And then I can come over here and knock its opacity way back to where we get the same effect, but we can see all of our lines through it with no problem. So you get that same shadow basically as you had over here, without the loss of any of your detail or anything else. Alright, so now I'm going to adjust this shadow's kind of its little profile here. I think that this probably should be a little more. No. And my cat is going to get up on my desk here in a second. And I'm probably going to wind up possibly taking a break at that point. So, all right, cool. That is what I consider part one. I'm going to do a little shadow under the body, and I'm going to make the tail darker as well. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you get the idea. It'll be the same situation. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the video. And if you're here when I come back later on, talk to me that time. All right. Talk to you guys later.